As we talk about the apparent boom or recovery in the real estate sector in India, and it's important because this is a sector which provides a lot of employment and impetus to the economy, we also need to look at the other side of the story. What are those who drive the real estate sector really getting out of it? Are they getting a fair deal? And especially in residential real estate, I'm talking about home buyers. So a home buyers association called the FPCE, that's the Forum for People's Collective Efforts, is now reaching out to the housing ministry and to the central government, asking them to put an end to the extensions that various states are giving in deadlines to developers. So here is a bit of context. Under the RERA rules, which came into existence around 2017, all developers that were building projects have a set deadline that they have agreed to in advance. Now, not meeting that deadline is a cost to the builder, who then has to pay a penalty in terms of interest to home buyers. These builders, developers all over the country got an extension of this deadline in April last year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Some states have given another extension to these developers. Maharashtra, Karnataka and Uttar Pradesh among them. Uttar Pradesh as much as 9 months. What this Home Buyers Association is now saying, this is unfair for the home buyers who have also suffered because of the pandemic. They're waiting for their homes to be delivered and will have to continue living on rent, continue paying EMIs and other expenses till their home is actually made. So what really is their grouse? What is their side of the story? To speak on this, I'm joined now by Abhay Upadhyay. He's the president of the FPCE. Abhay, thank you so much for speaking with us here on the India Development Debate. Can you explain to us what exactly you've written in this letter to the Housing Ministry, and what do you hope for them to do, considering that RERA effectively has to be implemented at the discretion of the states? The actual implementation is at the state level, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. So let me put things in perspective, ma'am. That last year in April, the meeting of Central Advisory Council was called. Central Advisory Council has been formed under RERA by Ministry of Housing by Gazette notification. I'm also one of the member of that council representing consumers. So now that meeting was called, and it was decided that in that meeting, though we had opposed that, but it was decided in that meeting that extension will be given. And accordingly, central government sent an advisory to both state governments and also all the RERA authorities, regulators, saying that they must give extension of 6 months without, that is suo motu, without being anything on the part of the builder. And at the same time, 3 months extension further can be given if they so desire. So that handle was given to regulators if they can also give 3 further months further notice. Now, extension. Now, this year, in the garb of COVID-19 second wave, what these regulators have done, they have not waited for any central government advisory or any advisory. They have merely received representation from the builders, and now they are saying that because there was a COVID-19 second wave, hence the extension needs to be given to all these developers for 6 months, and to UP has given for 9 months, whereas Karnataka and Maharashtra has given for 6 months. Now, ma'am, what is our view is that if you see in our country, any industry you see, why we are talking only of construction, you see any industry, whether it is pharmaceutical, whether it is consumer durable, whether it is automobile, whether it is two-wheeler, whether it is commercial sector, every industry has performed. There was production going on. You have not given any such leeway to any other industry. Why you want only construction to be given this kind of a leeway, which is not, which we fail to understand. Now, last year also, actually, if you see, there was only around 1.5 months there when there was a complete lockdown. After that, lockdown was slowly lifted, and construction and manufacturing activity was allowed even last year. This year, if you see, there was the entire impact of COVID-19 was hardly for 2 months. In my opinion, it was only April and May. Now, during this period, the construction was not at all. There was no complete lockdown. Not even any state government has said that no construction will be allowed. None of the state government. All manufacturing sectors were open. Despite that, you are giving 6 months to 9 months extension. Right. Now, what? Yes, ma'am.
No, so I get your point that you're saying that construction was not stopped during the second wave of COVID-19 at all completely. So why this? According to you, the effect was just a couple of months. But what developers may argue, Mr. Upadhyay, is that financial losses did pile up. And unlike other sectors, the real estate sector has a very specific law governing its deadlines called RERA. So if you compare to other sectors, they don't have a central law governing their deadlines. If they miss their deadlines, well, they miss their deadlines. Their customers, whatever penalties they have to pay. But here there is a central law which makes it very difficult for those developers if they miss the deadlines. Hence, perhaps the extension. Now, my question to you is, how many builders have actually utilized this extension where you feel there will be real harm to home buyers?
Let me answer your question this way, ma'am, that as far as deadline is concerned, no act, if you see the act has nowhere mentioned that any project needs to be completed within this period of time. Nowhere. It is builders themselves who is giving the deadline. They are estimating what time they will require to complete the project. So if we say that there is a deadline by the act, no. Only thing that, and whenever you are giving a deadline, I'm sure you are considering that there may be 1 month, 2 months delay. And now in our country, if you see 1 month, 2 month delay doesn't matter. There are projects which are delayed 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. So how does this matter? 1 month, even suppose I assume what you were saying is correct, that there was a complete lockdown last year for say 45 days. This year also, if I take your point that there was a problem for say 10 days, because it was not that construction was fully down. It was only that you might have go slow. So that you may get delayed by say 10 days. In that case, there is no justification for you to say that you want 6 to 9 months extension. This is number one. Number two, as far as coming to your point, ma'am, how many builders, the problem here is, ma'am, is different. Even if suppose there is no extension, there is no delay, there is no pandemic, nothing. Still your project, you are not habitual to complete your project within timeline. So almost all the builders, 99% of them are today exceeding their deadlines. And it is not only 1, 2, 3, 4 months. That I think we have accepted the fact if a project is completed within say 3 months extra time, I think we are ready to give that leeway to them. But it is more than so. See, for us, it is a delay over and above the already 3, 4, 5 years delay which they are doing. So this is extra on that for us. And if you see, the major problem here is that Section 6 already says that you cannot have extension of more than 1 year. So here you have already taken 9 months plus 6, 9 months first and 9 months second. That is 1.5 months already gone. That is beyond the Section 6 provision which is there. And that is not, you have not made part of that. Any builder who has taken say only 6 months
what
time.
Is the kind of, what is the kind of problems you think home buyers are going to be facing? And then what are you hoping from, this letter that you've written?
And the first thing is what I hope. See, if you ask me, ma'am, last year the advisory which was sent by the central government, that was purely illegal. Government, if you see entirely, if you read Act, there is no provision where government can send direct advisory to any of the RERA authorities. There is no provision there. So you cannot give any kind of advisory to RERA authorities, but that was given. And all the extension which RERA authorities granted, that was on the basis of such advisory. So now, having said that, though, if we are claiming that was illegal, but that has been followed and people have extended that, and now everybody cannot go and challenge that in the court, so that has been accepted. So my question is, if that thing you were there for the builders last year, saying that they needed that extension, you have given them. Now this year, what is the basis of giving for 2 months, even assuming there was a complete lockdown for 2 months in the second wave, assuming for that, for a moment, without accepting that. So what is the basis for giving extension for 6 months to 9 months? So don't anybody think that the central government has the same duty and responsibility which they were having that time for the builder to come for our rescue and ask all the central advisory to these regulators that no, you cannot do this extension. And so you please withdraw this notification, and whatever extension you have given to any project, please nullify that. So this is our simple request is that you to the central government that as you have already intervened last time, you have set a precedent, same way you do this time, issue advisory, tell them not to give extension, and those who have already done that, number one, that notification must be withdrawn. Number two, any extension which has been granted because of that notification, that also should be nullified. So this is our simple request, ma'am.
Okay, so now, okay, let's look at the ground reality. So a lot of developers, especially tier 2, tier 3 developers, have been hit not just because of, you know, the actual pandemic and lockdown. Of course, that has been the reason, but that has also led to a squeeze on funding, on new projects. The whole ecosystem has been hurt, not just in real estate, across the country. We all know that very well. So suppose this extension was not given, but still you will have developers defaulting on the deadline simply because they cannot complete the project. How does that help either way? How does that help the home buyer either way?
So, ma'am, I'm thankful to you have put this question before me, and I love to answer that because you are giving me opportunity, ma'am. Thank you so much. So now, first thing is, now you are assuming that what you were saying is correct. That forget about the pandemic. It is because of funds that they will not be able to complete the project. Now, my question to you, ma'am, and to all my viewers is, now you see the builder situation. They are taking money from the home buyer. That they are taking in advance. Anytime if you see, they are taking 50%, 60%, 70% of the money. Though it is said in the RERA agreement, if you see those projects which have been launched after 2017, that they cannot take more than 10%, but that is also in advance. And after that, on the basis of slab, they are taking it. That also is actually not with regard to whatever work is complete. So they are taking money in advance. This is number one. Number two, if you see the Amrapali case, ma'am, there it was very clear. I mean, Supreme Court has said that there was so much dues to all the development authorities, Ghaziabad development authorities, and all the authorities, they have not paid money. So there they are keeping their money. They have not paid that money. Now, now if you come to the bank, they have taken loan from the bank. My question to you, ma'am, where is the money going? You are taking money from me. You are not paying your liabilities on time. You are not paying to development authorities. That is recorded in Amrapali judgment. You are saying you have accepted that they are taking loans from the banks. That also is now, there was a recent report that 60%, 70% of that is becoming NPA. So my question is, somebody has to go and investigate where is that money going. If the fund is the crisis, now if the fund is the crisis, that means that fund diversion is still taking place. That means that RERA section 42LD, which says that you will deposit all the money from the project into a separate bank account. That is not happening. Otherwise, where is the question of project getting delayed because of lack of funds? So that means that the provision of the RERA is not being followed, right, and authorities are sleeping over it. They're not doing their due diligence. They're not checking doing proper audit. Otherwise, there is no question of that fund is because of lack of funds, project will delayed. So I am sure that if the builders are ready to accept
so obviously there'll be individual cases. There will be, there will be individual cases. Here we are speaking about all developers in one broad term and all home buyers in one broad term, but there will be individual cases and individual situations where these extensions may be utilized, may not be utilized. But yes, the broad point is that home buyers are not really ready to play ball for yet another extension of maybe 6 to 9 months. They think enough is enough. The builders have gotten enough of a cushion to even make do with all the hit taken during the pandemic, and it's time that deadlines are adhered to. Thank you so much, Abhay Upadhyay, for joining us and giving us that point of view.
Thank you, ma'am.